Today on Locked On Rockies, it took until the second half of the season, but the Rockies have won a series at 20th and Blake.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of July in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, just like so many of you always do in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Today on the show, we'll, of course, be recapping the fact that the Rockies have won their first home series against the Twins, showing off a little bit of offense before running into some trouble in the finale as well. We'll kind of take a look and see if maybe some trade impact was impacted. Trade impact was impacted. That's not very great analysis. If we saw any trade value increase here in this series, as two teams entering this series in very interesting spots as well. And I think, again, if you're Twins fans, kind of wondering, might be an interesting spot, but they're going to play against the Dodgers team that is not playing their best ball right now. But anyway, before we dive into everything today, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first your first $5 bet wins. Okay, so great stuff in some ways from this weekend. All right, the Rockies come out and this is finally, we were talking about on the Friday episode, right? We were talking about, if you're going to avoid the history, if you're going to make it so that you are not the team that finishes with the worst record in baseball, you have to be better at home. And that's exactly what the Rockies were in this series here. In the first two games of the series, they outscored the Twins by a score of, let me get this refreshed here. I believe it was, so in the first games, it was 16-10. They outscored the Twins in there, outscored 7-1 there. So basically splitting even at the end of this series here, when you're kind of, when you're looking at it there, as both teams going 17-17 in runs scored throughout this thing. But you won some Coors Field games in this series. You won situations in which you jumped out huge. You had that huge first inning, and like we talked about there on the Friday preview, you had a guy where home runs, walks, there was some weaknesses there in Paddock's game, and they did exactly what they needed to do. They still struck out a good bit, but they were able to get out there and do the damage and go after it. It's unfortunate that kind of the key veteran pieces of the bullpen struggled in this series, because that was kind of the thing preventing this from being a series where the Rockies put all the phases together. The last game also kind of got in the way of that, where the Rockies got some pretty good starting pitching in the first two games of the series. Kyle Freeland going 6 innings pitched, allowing 1 earned with 5 hits, 3 strikeouts, had the 3 walks there as well. Walks were certainly a problem for the Rockies in this series as well. We saw Germán and company get in trouble in the finale with, I believe, starting off the game on Sunday with 4 out of the first 5 innings. There was a leadoff walk, which, that's what's going to get you in trouble. That's what's going to lead to those high-scoring games, especially in the defeat. So good to see the Rockies able to navigate that and able to handle it there, because as I said, the Rockies firmly in the driver's seat for most of that, but things did get interesting late in that ball game. But the Rockies were able to hold on, and instead of being the team that fell apart there, they were able to keep it, start the second half off with the win. And then in the second game of the series, the Rockies were able to be able to continue to add on throughout the game, and finding themselves in situations where they needed to answer in this ball game, and they did, finding themselves down 3-0 there in the top of the second. Senzatella was able to end up going 7 innings pitched there after that shaky second inning, where you're looking at that. He was able to settle things down and be efficient going the way through. I was kind of holding my my breath there with how game 2 started and how things were going with Senza in that situation. But instead, the Rockies are the ones able to pile on and continue to add the insurance and respond multiple times throughout that game there. After going down by 3-1, they were able to plate a run, and then they got another 2 there, getting home runs on back-to-back days from Ryan McMahon, Hunter Goodman adding a late home run. And then one of the key big difference makers in this series and difference makers for the Rockies in general. Good things the Rockies are a much better team when Ezequiel Tovar is in the lineup for them. He comes in, he returns from the IL, and he contributes. Not as much in the first game there with the going 1 for 4 with the strikeout, but he's able to, at least get on base, be productive there. It's since seeing that. Would have liked to see him drive in some runners in scoring position, but the defense is much better with him in the lineup. And then in game 2, Ezequiel Tovar goes bonkers mode and is a key contributor for the Rockies offense there as he goes. Let me make sure I got it. Yeah, 3 for 4 with 3 RBI. That absolute blast from of a home run as well. And the Rockies, again, getting some production from Tyler Freeman at the top. Mickey Moniak having a 3-hit ball game. Hunter Goodman adding those 3 hits there. Jordan Beck getting a hit. I mean, this is what, when you're looking for positive trends and hopeful positive signs, is if these guys can continue to replicate this and do this over and over again, see these strong games from the Moniaks, the Goodmans. One thing, as much as we were excited about Hunter Goodman in the first half, got to see it throughout the second half as well, especially with the difficulties of catching a full season. It's kind of interesting. It seems like Hunter Goodman is going to be having, playing a lot more of that DH and having some DH time, with Nola getting a lot more of the looks there behind the dish defensively. So it'll be intriguing to see that. But it was great to see the youngsters kind of lead the way in a lot of these a lot of the offense and a lot of the damage this weekend. Of course, don't want to negate the fact that it was a great Ryan McMahon coming out the gate and blasting the ball out of the yard as well. When he hits the ball, when these guys do hit the ball hard, man, they got some guys that can really put some thump in it. McMahon, Goodman, Moniak, all can hit the hell out of the baseball. And it was just Coors Field action there, and it happened to the Rockies there too. They were the victim of a lot of the home runs in the finale. I think, how many did the Rockies end up giving up there? It was 1, 2, 3. I think there was 4 total home runs because someone homered twice. Yeah, Lewis homered twice. So 4 total home runs for the Rockies given up there, mixed with 13 strikeouts. The exact opposite of what they were looking for, and of course throwing the ball away there late in that one. So unfortunate that they couldn't get the sweep done, but it was the best Coors Field series that they've had. I mean, when you're looking at being able to be productive on offense, they've answered a few times. They've played a couple of shootouts there, but it was good to see the Rockies actually be the ones getting the job done and really putting the pressure on the Twins here, as they're going to be facing a really interesting couple of weeks here. Let's see if they can hang on and beat the Dodgers. But they might be sellers as well. I think we kind of got our first glimpse at teams that are, again, right around 500, certainly have a lot of talent on that team. We saw how good that offense was. We saw how the capabilities of the offense. There was I believe this was either in game 2. I think it was that the TV broadcast was saying that in wins for the Twins, they bat like above 350 with runners in scoring position, or like right around 350 with runners in scoring position in baseball. It's like the best in baseball. I again, kind of going off of the broadcast there, but then they were like one of the worst. They were batting under 200, under 175 in their losses with runners in scoring position. So it was kind of showing how hot and cold we saw that this weekend, right? We saw them kind of hitting the ball hard. We saw them putting the ball in play, but not always landing and not always turning into runs for the Twins in this series up until the end, where they really just started hammering it and were taking full advantage of not the best start from Germán Márquez, which we'll have to monitor, as well as we're looking at interesting storylines going down through the storyline or through the trade deadline. Germán Márquez is pulled, and we'll have to see if that is an impact for everything, or we'll see what type of impact that has for the Rockies and for them approaching the trade deadline as well. As this is going to be prime time for guys like Germán and Ryan McMahon. So we'll talk a little bit about that, their weekends, and some of the options here for the Rockies. And I want to just kind of highlight a little bit more too about the importance of Ezequiel Tovar. We'll be diving into all that and more coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5. That's promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Back at it here for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies, where you can find your team every day. If your team is Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Let's see here. We are navigating. One thing that was interesting too, and I think something that was interesting as the I think fans are watching with the Ryan McMahon's weekend here. Of course, the other thing, he didn't leave the yard, but another 2 hits for Ryan McMahon in this series, certainly coming out the gate hot and trying to kind of I wonder what it's kind of like for a player of McMahon, where he's at mentally in this type of season, in this type of spot. We obviously knew it happened last year at the trade deadline, where the Rockies could have traded Ryan McMahon and right after his All-Star appearance and at that point of the season, but the Rockies committing, wanting to uplift him, kind of going for the wanting to side with the player and him saying that he wants to be with the club. But at this point, if Rymack starts off with a tear, I mean, is that going to influence and try to get things going a little bit quicker? We heard there were numerous scouts from a variety of teams, looking at games here this weekend. I think the Yankees, of course, have been one of the most the teams targeted the most towards Ryan McMahon as a possible trade suitor, especially with moving Jazz over to second base there. Was that right before the deadline or right before the break or something like that, where they moved Jazz there over? So it'd be interesting to see if the performance-wise, if Ryan McMahon kind of makes himself a little bit more of a hot commodity before the trade deadline, and if the Rockies are looking to strike a deal or working for that anytime soon, or if they're going to kind of just be hey, we're going to stick with what we got until the trade deadline comes. That's when we're going to start making some moves. Be curious to start seeing if maybe some of these bullpen pieces go. I saw there was some a rumor of Jimmy Herget being looked at as a possible trade chip for some players. Just a little bit of buzz on social media. Didn't see anything too crazy about it. I mean, there are guys that are certainly interesting enough from the Rockies' perspective, and a lot of that justification of, well, if we take them out of Coors Field, are they going to be, we can hope that they're going to be better, especially if they're pitchers. The offense, that might be the difference. Still, the different question there. That might be the different factor there. But we'll see if anything has changed. And one of the main things too, I think, as we're kind of looking here, you're looking at the possibility of trading Germán Márquez, but now a little bit of a shaky start, still kind of rocking and roll, or and now having this potential shoulder injury here that is dealing with the, let's see here. I'm going to read from Thomas Harding's piece here. Right-handed pitcher Germán Márquez took time off during the All-Star break, but the right shoulder tightness that set in at the end of his last start of the first half never subsided. The result was 3 innings with 3 runs on 4 walks, including 1 to lead off each inning before Márquez exited the Rockies' 7-1 loss to the Twins at Coors Field. I feel like there is a little inflammation in my shoulder, Márquez said. It started bothering me the last day I pitched in Cincinnati. I didn't recover well. Today I didn't get hot. Feeling tightness as he tried to extend to finish his pitches, Marquez tried to reach 5 innings on toughness and savvy. He said he has not experienced this issue before. He figured it was an issue that comes with pitching in his first full healthy year since undergoing Tommy John surgery in 2023. So that's going to be something to watch there. And here to kind of move on here, the timing of Marquez's pain could be difficult for the Rockies. With the July 31st trade deadline approaching, the Rockies could move Marquez, who will be a free agent at season's end. Marquez's struggle occurred when the Rockies, who took the first 2 games against the Twins for their first home series win of the season, had a chance at their second sweep, first since winning 3 at Miami on June 24. It's kind of frustrating because we've started getting better, Marquez said. This day is kind of bad, but I think we're moving forward. And I think that's a good way to look at it too. I mean, if you're from the Rockies side, I mean, the big concern is a possibility of Germán missing this second start, mixed with the slow start and coming off the injury in general. What is that going to mean for his trade value? And certainly from the Rockies' perspective, they can sit there and say, like, well, if he finishes off the season, we at least have an arm that's going to finish. Germán can continue to add to his stats and continue to cement his legacy as a Rockies great. Before, as I've mentioned a few times, I really do not see a world in which Germán Márquez returns to the Colorado Rockies, unless they offer him an obscene amount of money, and the Rockies are truly believing that he is going to be a part of the solution going forward, which they very well could. I mean, Rockies and loyalty to their players is one thing, but when you're talking about one of the bigger trade chips that the Rockies have, I still think Germán Márquez numbers might not be the most impressive, and they have this injury thing. I think teams would certainly still be interested in this guy, certainly would be interested in getting a flyer and getting an understanding of him before they are able to make a deal, because if they're able to see something, this might work out for the other teams in which they can get him and start working on a deal before the end of the season. So this will be something that could impact the Rockies' overall, ability to trade and the interest with trading with the Rockies. But Ryan McMahon is a guy that I think, if he continues swinging the bat like he did in this series, will be an interesting case study. As we know, the glove is there, made a couple of big defensive stops in the series as well. So I think those are the two kind of main guys. I think the bullpen options certainly should be key things to look at there. But man, there's just been a couple moments where you're just kind of like, Jimmy Herget, for example, does get the 3 strikeouts, lets up the home run, so it's the earned run. So again, how much does that kind of bother teams if they are looking at them? And it is interesting to think when teams are considering trading with the Rockies and going into the negotiations with them, how much of a factor does Coors Field play for them when they're looking at things? How much more important are the road splits or the road numbers for teams and organizations when they're going in and talking with the Rockies? Because it's like, it'd be kind of crazy to just completely negate and completely invalidate everything that they're able to do at home, especially if they're successful at home. In favor of just some road of only looking at road numbers, only half of the games played, basically. It seems like could be as always the Coors Field conundrum continues to be a problem and something that will stick with them there. So it's curious. I mean, I think that these two guys this would have been a really big teeter-totter moment, I think, for Germán Márquez if he was able to come out healthy, strong on this start here. We're looking at, if he misses his next start, this could be his last start before the trade deadline even happens. If he misses that next start, what is that going to mean? Are the Rockies going to be able to what that throws a wrench in things, certainly. So and it'll be curious to see if the Rockies, how much they are able to move as well. The one thing we've talked a bit about, will they move stuff? Can they do stuff? What's the market? I am curious to see how much the Rockies are willing to sell as well. How many pieces are the Rockies willing to move on from? And as it looks, I think one thing I kind of pointed out and teased there in the beginning is this is a team in the Twins, a team that's right above that 500 mark. And they're, losing this series, they're going to be looking at that position of selling. And you're facing a lot of these teams coming up here that are really on a teeter-totter moment of their season. I think coming up here, you got the Cardinals, who I think are in an interesting enough division. But the wild cards are going to start getting a little bit more fascinating here going forward. But you're looking at after the St. Louis series, while there are 2 series on the road here, You're looking at Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh, all three organizations that are in very interesting spots and are going to be looking at, again, as we're navigating, you're getting to that Pittsburgh series with how much they sell off. What does Cleveland look like as they are going into that trade deadline, that part of there? These are teams that are going to look kind of different. And I think that one thing that we saw in this Twin series and against the Twins here was that while the on paper, again, the Rockies were the underdogs there, that was a Twins team that you could tell that something's off, that there are weaknesses there, and there are weaknesses that the Rockies should be able to exploit and get the job done like they did in games 1 and 2, and were able to be successful against a team that's right around 500. As much as the intimidation of the strength of schedule is there for the second half of the season for the Rockies, there are going to be series like this where, yes, on paper and everything, the Rockies are underdogs and shouldn't be favored. But this was a series in which the Rockies kind of took advantage of a team that has some pitchers that allow home runs and walks and have some weaknesses and inconsistent offense there. And you know, when you're preventing the opposition from driving in a bunch of runners in scoring position, that's going to be a recipe for success there. So again, I think kind of mixed with these teams going to be looking different, teams going through different parts of the season, teams being, different levels, varying levels of health. There are going to be series like this where the Rockies will have opportunities to win series, win games, and avoid that history. They just got to they just got to do it like they did this weekend. You have to replicate this over and over again. You have to be able to bounce back, get some long balls, be successful runners in scoring position, score a lot of runs. It's just about replicating it and being consistent about it. Because again, I think that while that strength of schedule is going to stick there, a lot of teams that the Rockies are going to be facing are going to be in a lot more interesting situations and a lot different situations than the Rockies are, because you're looking at some of these lineups and you're looking at some of the stuff that the Rockies are doing, and you got a pretty good idea of what they're looking for, at least for some of the main core members of this group. There might be some trades, but you're looking at your Becks, your Goodmans, your Tovars, your Moniacs, these type of guys that you're looking at, these younger guys being the ones that are going to continue to get the main focus, the main amount of work, the main attention for the Rockies. And of course, we were talking about the Rockies suffering a pretty bummer injury as well. We didn't talk about it, I should say. The Rockies losing Ritter there to some lacerations, calling up Amador to replace him. So this is as much as the Rockies still have some of their veteran guys in there, especially in the Sunday lineup that we saw, it certainly seems like the Rockies aren't afraid to embrace just going with what they, some of the young guys that they have and seeing if they can. I mean, it's just a matter of getting the deals done, and really sticking to that. And we'll see how it all pans out as the trade deadline gets closer each and every day. Let's put a bow on this Twin series here. Let's look ahead to the Cardinals series, and let's again take just quick brief mention of the importance of Ezequiel Tovar in the lineup. All coming up next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. You're already tuned into the Rockies, so why not make it a little more exciting? You got the live in-game bets that you can see. Maybe you got a hunch that you got that feeling that a Goodman bomb is coming up. Well, you can see all the action for yourself on FanDuel, and you can get on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are in on the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5. Yes, just bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Locked On Rockies here, wrapping things up for today. My closing thoughts again is that's a good series for the Colorado Rockies. That was a series in which the Rockies were able to show off their strengths, be a team that's a team that looked like a more comfortable team at Coors Field. You watched Minnesota struggle playing in the outfield in this series. You watch the Rockies have to navigate giving up home runs and making, going through games that they weren't over until that final out was over. The Twins had late momentum, late pushes in those first 2 wins there before, of course, seizing the momentum early and jumping all over things on a Marquez who wasn't feeling his best and wasn't throwing at 100% anyway. You saw a Rockies team playing with a little bit more confidence in this series. You saw a Rockies team that's again feeling more comfortable. They mentioned it about Ritter as well before he got hurt. You're just starting to see a little bit more of these guys feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident with where they're at. And it's clear this Rockies lineup and this Rockies roster is better when Ezequiel Tovar is in it. It's a massive improvement on the defense for the Rockies, even with the issues that he's had. He's been far from perfect this year on the defensive side. I mean, that goes for just about everybody on the Rockies side when we're talking about how good and how many guys that we're talking about that should be elite defenders on the Colorado Rockies. But he makes the lineup deeper. He makes the defense, takes it up to another level. And he's a guy that when he comes up to, you feel confident in. He's one of the few guys that you can sit there kind of and saying, okay, I believe in this guy and his ability to be consistent at getting the job done, being effective, driving in runners, coming up with a big hit. He is one of the Rockies that is able to be one of the guys that you can lean on and be a little bit more confident and say clutch. Again, we can't make him the centerpiece of the offense. There has to be better and stronger power pieces around him, but he really does just pair well and adds a nice threat into this Rockies lineup there as we're seeing him come back from the IL and immediately make an impact on the offensive side. He is a guy that makes the Rockies better from the top down. And it's important to see him. It's really important for him to be able to be healthy and be able to play, most of the second half here for the Rocks. Okay. Rockies taking on the Cardinals here. Austin Gomber taking on Michael McGreevy here for the Cardinals. He's 1-1 with a 4.22 ERA, 16 strikeouts here. And he has pitched in 44 innings. So this is a youngster for the Rockies coming in at Coors Field here, making his debut, 25 years old. So again, a situation where you're kind of looking there and saying, all right, let's make him a little uncomfortable here. But again, one of the things that stands out there, 5 strikeouts in 3 out of his first 4 starts here. So what are the Rockies a problem with? Striking out there. A couple of walks. He's allowed a couple of home runs here. Allowed 7 hits against the Cubs, 8 hits against the Dodgers there. So if they can get there, get the ball and actually get some hits there, put some pressure on him and get something going here. But strikeouts are part of his game, but it's Coors Field. And if they had that success, if they want to feel, again, it's about winning these first games, setting up how they how they can be in an opportunity to win. The series after that is huge as well. The Rockies being dreadful in series openers. It was nice to see, the Rockies get that first win, able to back it up, boom, and then you got that opportunity to keep your eyes on the sweep. So see if this Rockies roster can bounce back after a quiet day on offense, get the hits going again against the youngster making his Coors Field debut here. Let's see. Let's finish with the some comments here from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Jansen says, "What is Ethan Holiday's schedule for the rest of the year? Farm system, school, what?" I would assume if he's signing that signing bonus, he's going to be getting into the system and start working on things. I haven't seen anything official yet, but I would imagine with how much money the Rockies are willing to are talking about spending on Holiday, I would imagine it's getting him into the development programs, getting him to the farm system as soon as possible there once the business side is done. Here's what Just Joshin says. Just Joshin you came says, because I was asking, are fans rooting for people are Rockies fans rooting for losses just to see if they'd rather be history and kind of force the hand of Dick Monfort there? And this is what they said. "I don't want to come across as rooting for losses, but at the beginning of the season, I was rooting for those losses when they chose retread veterans like Nick Martini over Zach Veen. If Veen came up and had, even if Veen came up and had plenty of flaws, what I want to see the rest of the season is shedding those veterans like McMahon, Bird, Marquez, and maybe even guys like Freeman/Halverson so a rebuild can actually take place. This team has never rebuilt. They have just evaluated poorly, to put it nicely. The rebuild officially needs to start by getting more assets for good players than doing it again in the offseason. Sign guys you could bring who could bring value at the deadline so you can keep rebuilding. I don't mind being the worst team of all time, especially in this division, if we are playing young guys like Beck, Goodman, Dolander, and eventually Condon. What bothers me is being the worst team of all time with a bunch of retread veterans who have the zero possibility of being around when the team could do better. So that is what I'm looking for the rest of the season. Shed the old guys and get some new blood in the organization. White Sox did it last year with some other, and no reason the Rockies can't do it this year. The pressure will be on. The pressure will be fully on to embrace that and see, because I'm with you. They have to make some decisions. They have to start building for the future. And there are guys that just simply won't be a part of that future. You can't take every piece away, but you got to be shopping what you can and shopping what's available there and working towards adding to your farm system and looking ahead for brighter days down the line, because that's where the Rockies are at. Let's see. Jonesy Gaming says, I just wanted to say I've attended 3 games and I'm 3-0. Tampa W, Miami W, and Twins W. When will the Rockies hire me to attend? Love the videos. Jonesy, you need to keep going to games. You got to let me know if you're seeing more action there, and get some more dubs for the Rockies, because they're going to need them. Taking on the Cardinals here, Nolan Arenado returns to town. We'll see how it goes as the Rockies look to shake up the National League Central standings there and start making themselves more of a threat at Coors Field. We're going to wrap things up for today. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB Game Night, and they got you covered with all the action from around the diamond every night. They're breaking it down for you folks. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.